some teaching and preaching. And my friend that lined it all up, that lives there, he lined it up to get us on two different radio stations. I've never been on the radio, was not really an interest of mine at the time. I hadn't really pursued that. And we went to these radio stations, and they were secular radio stations. But, by the way, Africa radio is really different. But anyhow, they're playing secular songs, but they said, please get on there and tell us what you're doing. So here, one of the stations, they had all these egg foam deals around. It was really kind of a cheap-looking place, you know, obviously. And then the next day we went to this other radio station. Well, I found out later that the first radio station broadcast all the way, all around Ghana and West Africa. The second one broadcast all the way to Germany and Amsterdam and South Africa and all these things. Wow. While I was on the radio, something happened in me. I can't explain it. All I got to tell you is something in me just went, this is really cool. There's something about this that's really cool. Well, the next night I was doing these services at this little church, and as I was up there, I noticed this lady coming in. She needed the help of two different people. She could hardly walk. She had a cane, and she was bent over like this, and she sat down on this chair, and she almost was just laying over on the chairs. Well, by the end of the service, this lady is up running around and dancing and cheering, and I don't understand what she's saying, but she's obviously, something has happened to her. I didn't remember ever praying with her. I didn't remember anything like that. She comes up, and the translator comes up with her, interpreter, and she begins to tell her story. And she says she was laying in bed that day, and she was listening to her radio. And when we got on the radio and began to share, she knew something in her said, if I can make it to this service, I'll be healed. And her body, she had been to all the doctors. This is what she's explaining. She'd been to all these doctors. She'd done all these different things, and there was no cure for her. She listened to that radio, she came to the service, and we have pictures of her running and jumping and dancing. When I left there was something in me that said, this radio thing's a pretty cool deal. I think God could really use some really cool stuff in this radio. I came home, and I told my wife about the experience, and I said, you know what? I said, I've never thought about being on radio before this. But I said, I'll have to tell you something. If I was ever involved in radio, I really would rather have it on a secular station than a Christian station. And it's no offense against Christian stations. But there's something in my heart that says, I would love to tell people about the love of God and tell them about things maybe they don't know of or haven't heard of through radio. And that was it. Well, about 2 weeks later, I had 3 different people in a period of a week and a half come up and tell me, have you ever thought of being involved in radio? No, I haven't, but this is interesting you're asking me. You connect these two stories, and Ichabod calls me up and says, hey, listen, we have this idea I want to run by you. What do you think about that? That same feeling that was in me at the radio station just exploded in my chest again. And I said, you know what? I said, I can really, really be interested in something like this. And we began to pray together and talk together, and it's been a real fun trip the last few weeks, just getting to know each other, being harassed by them, and it's been really great. And by the way, when you sit with the two of them and close your eyes, you feel like you're just listening to KMPS all over again. Because it's just this bantering back and forth. But anyhow, that's my story. We are so glad to have you guys here. We just want to do whatever we can to help this couple fulfill the dream that God has put in their heart. And I know that they are thrilled to pieces that all of you turned out for this. And so I am now going to turn it over to the beloved.